All right, because this we ain't got to spend a ton of time on. It's just more of a brief discussion, man. But in terms of who we feel has the most to prove in Saturday's game, for me, I know off the top of my head, man, I just had three dudes that I had wanted to just briefly discuss in terms of who I think has the most to prove from my perspective. First one being Mason Rudolph. I think that for him, he's not Mitch Trubisky right now. He's not the front runner. He's not Kenny Pickett. He's not the guy that they just drafted 20th overall and have high expectations for. There's still question marks around if Mason can be the guy. So to me, I think that Saturday is another big opportunity for him to prove that he can be a guy in this league, that he can be the starter in this league. He feels like, he's done it before, but we talked about the mixed bag. In camp, it's been a mixed bag. At times, he looks like he can do it. This is where you got to really prove it, though. I think he needs to go out there and prove that he could be the guy. And how does he do that? I think he has to play with a lot more confidence on a play in and play out basis. And I think he has to take chances, bro. Like Mason, I don't feel like it hurts him to have an interception if that interception was him taking a chance downfield. I don't want to see the super clean, he was 9 for 12, 60 yards. And it's like, bro, you never took any shots. Like, I want to see you take a shot. I want to see you take some
points
chances.
Up on the board,
absolutely, man. I think for him, that'll be significant in him really, making a case for him being QB1 this year. Because if he's not QB1, I don't see how that dynamic really works with keeping him here, especially with Kenny continuing to improve. It's kind of like if I was going to make a switch from Trubisky during the season, if I'm to that point anyways, I'm going to just go with the young boy. I don't want to go Mitch to Mason. It's right. Like if Mason won, then okay, it's Mason, and then you would switch to Kenny. I don't want to go Mason to Mitch. I don't want to go Mitch to Mason.
Right.
Whichever it is, you're going from them to Kenny. And that's the part for me when I think of Mason. I say, that's the part where you really got to show that. The next guy, Devin Bush. And why is that Devin Bush? Because he needs to prove that he is worth the Steelers taking a chance on him. We talked about Roquan Smith. We talked about, the different linebackers in the draft. We know we were excited when we brought in Miles Jack. But all of this still is predicated on Devin Bush showing that last year was a one-off, showing that, whatever has been his past, that's going to be different. And now going forward, he's going to be the player that we drafted, thinking that he could do certain things. That's what he has to go out here and start to prove. The practices are the practices. We could take them as we take them. We broke them down. We've talked about, how he's been performing in contrast to Robert Spillane. But it's like now that the games are here, Coach Tomlin said it himself. The games are weighted more. They matter more. They count more. I would much rather you save all your playmaking for Saturday's game if you're Devin Bush. If that's what it takes. And I wouldn't even care that we haven't seen a ton of playmaking from him throughout training camp thus far if you're doing it in stadium, because in stadium matters. So that's the thing with Devin, man. And I think that for him, if not now, then when? Like, we know in the past we heard guys, he don't need to show up in the preseason. No, he's good. He can wait. No. George Pickens, I don't need to see a lot from him. Man, just, hey, get him to week 1. That's not the case for Devin. I don't want to hear Devin, I'm waiting until week 1 to play my best and be productive. Right. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't think that that's very smart on his end if that's the approach that he's taking. And I don't think that is, but just to communicate that, I do think that for him, he needs to treat this like this is a regular game in terms of his mentality and preparation. That's something that as a player that has done it a while, it does get a little tricky with preseason games when you're so used to regular season games. And for Devin, he's played in a lot of regular season games. So yes, it still is tough mentally at times, but for him, he doesn't have that luxury from my perspective to come into this thing and treat it as a preseason only game. I think he needs to come in here locked and loaded like it's a regular season game and play with that type of intensity, because Spillane, that's what he's bringing right now. And then the final guy is Kenny Pickett, man.
Oh.
And the reason why I feel like it's Kenny Pickett is this is going to be his first introduction, his first impression to Steeler Nation in stadium.
I think Malik Willis put some heat on him too.
The next thing I have up here, Malik Willis / Bailey Zappi. What they did yesterday also adds to that, because everybody's hollering about Malik, right? That was the first thing as soon as you open up the chat. Hey, man, we missed on Malik. We should have got Malik. Well, if you don't want to keep hearing that more and more and more, go out here and silence it. And this is his first chance to do that. This is his first chance to show what he brings to the table, to show why he was the only first-round draft pick quarterback in this year's draft. Show why the Steelers were geniuses. Show that. And that's the part for him that I'm excited about. And also, I think that for him, in terms of his QB1 aspirations this season, this is another huge step in that direction. I don't care what he's done in training camp thus far. If he goes in this game and he wets the bed, the moment's too big for him, we're going to be over here like, maybe we need to dial it back some. Maybe he isn't going to get that opportunity this season. Maybe we should wait. But if he goes out there and he looks the part, he has a play or two like how Malik had. Not saying that Malik had a great game because he didn't. But he had some plays where it's like, yo, you see it. Bailey Zappi has some plays where you see it. It's like, man, if Kenny goes out there and has some of them plays where you're like, okay, that's what we wanted to see. That's what you're talking about. I think that will put him in a great position to have the team feeling more open to him getting that chance this season versus it having to wait and be, down the line.
Nice. Initial name I thought of for the most approved was Mitch, just because you're apparently quarterback one. The spot is yours to lose. Show them why you were literally the first signing in the free agency period.
I mean, free agency
in the whole NFL.
It opened for like 5 minutes. It was like, boom, we got to sign him. I'm like, how y'all get that deal done that quick?
Yeah, so they're saying the QB1 spot for him is his to lose. And I think he's got to go out there and just at least show he's in command of the offense. Some of the stuff that you're hearing with him over these last couple practices is he's getting more comfortable, more confident. He's telling receivers what to do. He's getting frustrated. And that's, I guess, showing some leadership. We got to see it in this preseason game because you're right with the whole Pickett scenario. If Pickett lights it up and Mitch and Mason are pedestrian, I think Pickett's chances of starting this year go a little bit more up. The reason I wasn't thinking Pickett for the prove it thing, I'm with you on for his aspirations to start this year.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think anything's riding or dying on this first preseason game for his future with the Steelers at all. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I do. The only reason I think of it is like this. If this is his first chance in the stadium, he goes out there, he stinks it up, multiple interceptions, or just looks lost, or it looks like he's not in control of this offense, Coach Tomlin and them are going to become really, really nervous about that element of it. And I think they will dial it back in terms of the opportunities that they're trying to give him more of lately, where you're trying to seek, okay, can you run with the twos? Can you do more of that? All right. Well, you got to pass this next part of this exam before I can take you to potentially giving you QB1 reps.
Sure.
But you can't even talk starting if I can't even give you QB1 reps in practice just yet.
I'm
And
100%
if you don't look good out here in this game, why would I think to myself, oh, let's put more on his plate? That's the part when you're talking about that timetable of being a starter. Yeah,
I'm with you on that. If he's looking to start this year, I just think no matter what, they're going to give him the opportunity to be the QB1 down the line after the season. But, man, I mean, you're right. No. Pickett wants a chance. He's got to – this would be the start. This would be the start of it.
This is it right here, man. Yeah.
Devin Bush, obvious one. I'm with you on that. And then the third one, I was thinking Kendrick Green.
I'm loving that, man. Absolutely.
I think that one's kind of obvious, too.
Yeah.
Moving for center. We know what type of year he had last year. I mean, people are talking about maybe not even rolling with him on the team anymore. The only reason is, hey, we drafted him in the third round, so let's see what he got. Now we're moving him to the guard. You're saying there's good things happening in camp. If Dotson's going to be out, he's going to have a lot to prove. I mean, not only just to try to get that starting left guard spot, being in that competition with Dotson, but just making the team, showing that he belongs. Because he could be a solid contributor. Even if they still give Dotson the spot, Kendrick Green could be a valuable asset for us for not only this year, but for years to come if he flashes some versatility. Because if he could play on that left side, do we want him back at center? That's the other question. But then at left guard, right guard, in case someone gets hurt.
But think about it. He still started how many games at center last year? We know the O-line was a work in progress, but he still could get you out of a bind. That's all I'm saying. So when you're talking about his versatility,
maybe someone gets hurt mid-game. I don't know if you have.
You don't want to start him.
I don't know if you have a week-long prep beforehand that you want to be going with Kendrick Green, but somehow, some way, someone gets hurt middle of the game, and you got to throw him in because
he can get
you got Hassenauer not dressed.
He will get you out of a bind.
Exactly. So those are probably my top three because everyone else, you could say the cornerbacks. It goes back to I don't know if DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett are really going to play like that.
Yeah.
Minka Edmonds, they got anything to prove. Miles Jack, I feel good about him. Offensive line as a whole, outside of Green, I want to see him. I'm excited to see him, but in terms of proving something, No, I think the three that we talked about. I mean, you could probably list any of the quarterbacks, have an angle on any of them. Devin Bush and Kendrick Green. I think everyone's in agreement that there's got to be top 4 of 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah,
that got something to prove here.
I would agree, man. I would agree.
That's it for that.
I like it, man.